awful and like so like they're not even like the thing about it is like they don't have all those barriers to hide it, and are really not as effective operators as they used to be. Like, look at this. Like, it is a very, very strange situation to see someone like Ron Johnson say that what we passed in December was way more than we needed and more than enough. So again, and here's the crazy part. Psaki said Tuesday that Biden was hoping to engage with Americans who thought otherwise, but said pressuring Johnson from his home turf was not the purpose of the trip. Like, why shouldn't it be? Like, there should be tons of, like, if you don't pressure Johnson and pressuring people from their home trips, going to rallies, and rallying people up against them, especially members of the Republican, like, that is a perfectly good political strategy and is a sign and a function of a party that actually wants to get stuff done. Like, the Democrats are dangerously, like, they're starting to, like, just kind of get pushed in that direction a little bit more by just people just like, do we really have to be this pathetic? Because if they do what they did in 2008 again, they're looking at the complete and utter wipeout of the Democratic Party once again. And with the voting rules that are in place, it's going to be very, very hard to make that ground up. And they're probably screwed anyway if they don't pass H.R. 1, which is super, super important. I do recommend checking out the Deconstructed podcast about that. So with Ryan Grimm. So Milwaukee, however, was not exactly venturing into enemy territory. The city is a labor stronghold whose once ruby red suburbs shifted leftward in Trump years, reflecting a national erosion among college-educated white voters. The setting of the town hall made sense for a president promoting a plan to help Americans recover from the ravages of the pandemic. A spike in coronavirus cases made Wisconsin one of the most affected states throughout last fall and early winter. The numbers have dropped significantly from a peak of more than 8,000 a day in mid-November to a 7-day average of below 1,000 in recent days. So, looks like things they're finally getting under control in Wisconsin. So that's very good. They're finalizing the coronavirus stimulus package by the end of last week. At this point, in its current form, the stimulus legislation would provide billions of dollars for schools and small businesses, bolster unemployment benefits for the fall, and provide a gradual increase in the federal minimum wage to $15. So, I mean, that's actually almost a doubling of the federal minimum wage. So, but it would actually happen over a gradual period of time, which is the unfortunate thing. The kind of like little the constant fine print that we have to deal with in Democratic politics. But we have to talk about the GOP now. Donald Trump has urged GOP senators to find a new leader in a biting attack on the Senate Majority Leader, one of the GOP's most successful politicians ever, Mitch McConnell. From the New York Times, here reporting President Donald Trump and former President Donald J. Trump on Tuesday made a slashing and lengthy attack on Senator Mitch McConnell, the Republican minority leader, calling him a dour, sullen, and unsmiling political hack, and arguing that the party would suffer future losses if he remained in charge. So, yeah, it is pretty surprising to see. And you know what? I think you know what we may have to do? We may have to read the full statement. So the 600-word statement, coming 3 days after the Senate acquitted him in a second impeachment trial, was trained solely on McConnell and sets to paint Trump as the best leader of the GOP going forward. And what this is, it's a power struggle, and it's a power struggle that they are the McConnell side is completely going to lose. Like, the chances Mitch McConnell would be in the Senate, will be the Senate in 2026 are like zero. They are zero. And if they weren't already before this, I mean, it's pretty likely this guy, like, he is not in good health. Like, he has done what he needs to do. Like, he can go back to his fiefdom in Kentucky and look at his world, which he has molded in his disgusting image, without really feeling too like he's losing too much. But the point is, what he has lost, I think, more than anything, is the Republican Party. He has lost control of the Republican Party, and it's coming a time, to be fair to him, like, where he's ready to retire, and he doesn't really need to do anymore. He doesn't need to be the majority leader, like, and he probably won't be, because the party has officially passed him from the right wing. And this is a fight if you look at who's going to win between McConnell and Trump, it's not even a question Trump is going to win. Like, if you look at all the numbers indicate, all the support indicates that, I mean, maybe you could argue that they possibly had a chance after that, right after January 6th, where they had really come down and created a full narrative saying that Donald Trump is not an acceptable, like, force in the Republican Party. We have to get him out of there now. If they come out there and said that, if from the media, from up on down, every Republican member has come down and condemned him, like his actions, they were then I think he probably would have lost some credibility with the Republican base. Like, it would have been hurt. They would have hurt significantly from that. Like, that, if they had made that a turning point, if they had played the willing participants with the shock Democrats, they I think would have succeeded in tearing down Trump at least a little bit. But what they did was they were just like, I don't know. They were kind of shifty on it. They were like, well, this is just kind of Antifa. They tried out a bunch of different things. And then they said, you know what? They went back to their districts. They looked at some polling numbers. They took in the scene. They put their finger up to the wind. And really, it took them about like a week or so. And by that time, they had completely made their mind up. And what they decided to do was stick by the president 100%. And yeah, they realize what's going on. They know who is in charge. They know who is pressing all the buttons here. They know, like, they especially notice the fact that huge portions of I believe like 62% of the GOP would be open to like a third party right now, and it's not because they're hating Donald Trump. Like, let's just put it that way. They're not. It's not because they want to kick Trump out. It's because they want to kick everybody else out. Like that is where they are at right now. Everyone else who is not sufficiently loyal, and the people like Matt Gaetz, the people like the Matt Gaetz types of the world, Jim Jordan types of the world, who were always up front on this. I mean, I doubt Josh Hawley is going to be able to get the same favor, but he saw it right, I guess, from the like purely political. But in the end, this party is Trump's all the way, and it is not going anywhere. That is for sure. Yeah. So this statement pretty much was did not include any sign of contrition. No surprise there from Trump for his remarks to a crowd of his supporters who then attacked the Capitol on January 6th, nor did it include any acknowledgement of his role in the violent hours in which his own vice president and members of Congress were under threat from the mob of Trump supporters. Rather, Trump chose to focus on Mr. McConnell as he broke his silence after an unusually lengthy period of, as we kind of talked about, it's so very weird how much he's been so quiet, after he was permanently barred from his formerly favorite medium, Twitter, last month because of a series of tweets he posted during the Capitol riot on January 6th. McConnell's office declined to comment on Trump's attacks on Tuesday, but the senator left little mystery about his former contempt for the president. But, I mean, really, it's kind of sad, the excuse that he gave about, like, the patheticness of the fact that, well, I think Trump, he pretty much goes, like, the inherent politicianness and the inherent, like, sliminess, like, should be evident to, like, literally everyone, Democrats or Republicans, of what McConnell did here by voting to acquit, but also coming out and trashing Trump and saying, well, it was because of the Constitution that prevented me from, I was trying to acquit the Constitution, not Donald Trump. Like, that's what I was trying to do. So everyone else still has to like me. But no, it's not going to work. Everyone hates you. No, you lost the Republican base for good with that. Like, come on. That is very, very obvious. But it's clear he hates Trump. So shortly after he joined the majority of Republican senators in voting to acquit Trump on the House impeachment charge of incitement of insurrection, he excoriated Trump by laying the blame for the deadly riot at his feet, suggesting that further investigations of Trump could play out in the judicial system. Very strong words. Those comments were widely interpreted as an attempt to minimize Trump's brand of politics within the Republican Party and appear to donors who have said they're rejecting the party after some Republican senators voted appeal to donors who have said, which is kind of very interesting, that he's really thinking of these donors first as opposed to the base of the party, which still, at least in the Republican Party, they have not been muzzled and mollified like the Democratic base, and they carry a great amount of influence. McConnell, again, he wrote this Wall Street Journal op-ed and gave an interview to the paper's news section suggesting he might get involved in primaries for 2022 as part of an effort to win back the majority. One person close to the former president said his initial version of the statement was more incendiary than what was released publicly. A second person said the statement was issued instead of a news conference Trump initially planned to give on Tuesday. Some aides fear he would go off track and say harsher things extemporaneously, which he probably would. And it would be very funny to watch. In the statement, Trump resorted to insults about McConnell's acumen and ability. This former majority leader has tried to move on from the Trump era and faulted him with the Republicans for losing Republicans their majority. So the Republican Party can never be respected or strong with political leaders like Senator Mitch, leaders here in scare quotes, with political leaders like Senator Mitch McConnell at its helm. McConnell's dedication to business as usual, status quo policies, together with his lack of political insight, wisdom, skill, and personality. The last part is just completely not true. I mean, he has tons of political insight and wisdom, but of course, his personality is what makes him. And of course. And he has rapidly driven him from majority leader to minority leader, and it will only get worse. Again, you're talking about probably the most successful Republican politician ever. I mean, you got to, in terms of like just, at least in the modern times, you argue Lincoln was pretty successful, but in terms of just advancing evil, just in a steadily transparent way through policy and having no one able to stop you, like McConnell is the best at that in modern times that I've ever seen. So Trump offered up some new taunts. The Democrats and Chuck Schumer play McConnell like a fiddle. They've never had it so good, and they want to keep it that way. We know our America First agenda is a winner, not McConnell's Beltway First agenda or Biden's America Last. Like, this is what we're seeing is a definitely kind of a populist, the populist edge, just BS populist signaling. Clearly, I mean, we should say that right up top. But he's trying to paint McConnell as this like establishment Republican, and Beltway First. I mean, he's thinking of the donors here. I mean, he's going back. He's screwing out Trump. I mean, really for the donors. So there is a element of truth to that. While McConnell has followed the former president for the party's losses in both U.S. Senate races in Georgia, Trump maintained that it was because Republican voters were angry that party officials did not do more to address his baseless claims of widespread voter fraud, which it seems stupid to say and intimate that, like, given, like, who would care, like, and vote on that. But again, that is the number one issue with a lot of people in the Republican Party right now, followed closely, and in some cases even, of course, succeeded by, like, it's in some cases this is more important, cancel culture. Like, Trump had the election stolen, and cancel culture are the two things anyone in the Republican Party cares about right now. And that's the kind of the tough situation they're in. Trump also claimed credit for McConnell's victory in his own Senate race last year and took a swipe at McConnell's wife, Elaine Chao, who has worked for the Trump administration as the transportation secretary. McConnell has no credibility on China because of the family's substantial Chinese business holdings. He does nothing on this tremendous economic and military threat. He will do whatever needs to be done or what is right for our country, Trump added, that where necessary and appropriate, I will back primary rivals who espouse making America great again and our policy of America first. So, yeah, it's been the longest statement Trump released since leaving office on January 20th. And on that note, we have to talk a little bit about this virus that we have going on, guys. Not good, folks. It is pretty bad because we do have some good news about the virus as the winter storms threaten to upend distribution of the COVID-19 vaccines. The White House on Tuesday said that states collectively would begin receiving 13.5 million doses each week, a jump of over 2 million doses, in part to a shift in the way the government is allocating doses of Pfizer's vaccine. And Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, said that the new federal pharmacy program will provide 2 million weekly doses, a doubling of the initial supply. The increases were welcome developments for state officials desperate to inoculate the more vulnerable Americans before more contagious variants of the virus became dominant. So it is kind of working against the clock here as we just see this virus mutilate in so many different ways. We're seeing the variants pop out all over the place now. It is quite scary. But the Biden administration has been working with Pfizer, the maker of one federally authorized vaccine, to get the company more manufacturing supplies.